At Sandalwood, I'm the coordinator of the Academy of Information Technology. We're an applied IT academy, and what that means is the kids get a 4-year program of study. The philosophy behind what we do, we're actually a National Academy Foundation IT academy, is that an 8th grader coming into high school, they may know that they like computers and that they want to maybe do this as a career, but they don't necessarily know what that means. So they get a year where they learn Windows desktop and Office applications in the workplace, and then they learn computer programming. Then they learn tech support and networking, and then they learn web design. This is actually a web design class, obviously. This class is almost exclusively 10th graders. So that's what they take their 10th grade year. And more than just teaching web design, this class teaches them how to, as you can see, design for the customer, helps them realize that the computer is not just a tool they use for a hobby or to have fun, but it's an actual tool of productivity, and it's something to be used in business as well as for personal use.
All right, so today we're going to be talking about designing a page for a customer, because some of you have done web pages before, and those pages were based on something you wanted to do. But since this is a business class, what we need to get through our minds here today is making a website based on customer specifications. So what that means is we need to take a look at the business that we're writing the website for, and then think about what they need, and think about why would a customer go to their site? What is the customer, the end user, looking for when they go to that company's website? And we need to design the page with that in mind, okay? So what we're going to do today is we're going to learn a little bit about one of the basic tools we use to design web pages. This is called a wireframe. Okay, so I have a kind of an academic kind of definition of what a wireframe is. Go ahead and read that if you'd like. But in plain English, what we're going to do is we're just going to draw a rough sketch of what the home page is going to look like for each of these businesses. All right? So what I need you guys to do is get out a paper and something to write with. Each one of you, please, get out a sheet of paper and something to write with. Right over here we have an example of what a wireframe might look like. You can see over here if something is a heading, if something is an important set of words, right? Something is kind of delineating what this portion of the page is. Then you might write out like the name of the company, or you might write out the section heading. But when we get to just representing a block of text, like you see over here, we have something that we've seen before called lorem ipsum, which is just gibberish, and all that is a placeholder, okay? So whenever you want to represent text, you can do squiggly lines or you can do lorem ipsum, okay? Everybody clear on that? Okay. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to split you guys up into groups randomly, all right? So 1 through 6 is on the tables. Please bring your chair, paper, and pencil with you. Go to the correct table as I give you your group number. 1, 2, 3.
In the workplace, you don't always choose who you work with. Sometimes you're placed with people. Sometimes they will work well together, and sometimes you work with somebody you don't really want to work with, and you have to make it work. So I think that when you make it random, you kind of sometimes force that to happen.
All right, our first company we're going to look at, and these are, by the way, fictional businesses, that they're approaching you. That's what that's going to be our role today. We're going to pretend that this company is coming to your group as a web design firm to design a new website for that company. So our first company today is Bay Area Contracting. Their tagline is "Framing your dreams, building your reality." the description is they're a general contractor that builds single-family homes. Okay, so we need to think about, first of all, what is their business? A general contractor. Who knows what a general contractor, first of all, is? Okay, John?
It's basically what designs up how the house will be furnished and everything.
Okay, they design the house. That's actually correct. They don't necessarily do the furniture, but they do design the house. Okay, so what are some keywords in here? Does anybody think of any keywords that might give you some clues as to what you might want to think about when you're putting something that's a marketing document like a web design or like a website? Yes, Ashley.
The single-family homes.
Single-family homes. Okay, so that's opposed to like a condo or an apartment, right? Okay, so for single-family homes, that's important. And so does this seem like this is somebody that is fixing or they are creating a custom home? Yeah, Katie.
Creating.
They're creating a custom home. So why would somebody create a custom home rather than just buying a house? I mean, that's kind of an obvious question, but that's the kind of things you need to think about and keep in mind. Yes, Jamal.
They want to frame their dreams.
They want to frame their dream. It says there, right? Okay, that's a little bit lofty, right? That's why we're laughing, because it's our dreams. But really, when you buy a house, you're kind of trying to fulfill somebody's trying to, fulfilling, maybe it's a small dream, but it's a dream they have. They want to have a house that is exactly the way they want it, right? That's why they're doing a custom home. So what are some of the things that a visitor would be looking for in a website like this? Please raise your hand. Okay, Cody?
I would say cost estimates.
Cost estimates? Okay. So if you're going to do cost estimates, what would you need to offer? Because you have to have something that has a price, right? So can you think of something that you would put a price estimate on?
Roofing.
Maybe the kind of roof, maybe the size, the floor plans, right? Okay. So that's the kind of thing you would want to make sure is on there, because people aren't going to go just for no reason. They're going because they want to find out how to contact them, what they do, how much it's going to cost, right? Okay. So with that in mind, I want you guys to pick one person per group to draw a home page that you think is appropriate for this company. Remember to include things that you have on all websites, right? So I'm going to see if you guys remember those, what we talked about or not this first time, all right? So go ahead and begin, and I'll be coming around and seeing how you're doing, all right? I'll give you about 5 or 10 minutes.
We talk about, I believe it's called the Bay Area Contracting was that first company. Most kids, they probably never, even their parents haven't gotten a custom built home. They may not know what a general contractor is. And so this kind of, again, tries to draw them out and make them think about what are they doing and thinking about what questions they need to ask. Because even if you've heard of the company before, you want to know what is important to them. They need to realize what that business is looking for. For example, that business was for custom homes. They built custom homes. So even if they didn't know what a general contractor was, they could see from the description that a general contractor builds things, okay? So in one aspect, it kind of reinforces the idea of, English context clues inferring from the text. In another aspect, it forces them to ask the right questions in order to complete the assignment. So when they actually get something that's for money, hopefully they know what questions to ask. And usually there's somebody in the class that understands or that has heard of what a general contractor is. Like it might be somebody, their parent was one, or they've gotten a contractor to do work before. So they know it has something to do with building, and then I can expound on that once they say that first step.
Title.
Of course. Their slogan needs to be somewhere in there.
Should we have the slogan below the title?
Yeah, kind of like frame.
Yeah, usually, because the most important thing first.
You know those like cards when you can read your one
Okay.
like the nice and
Do you want to do the tabs?
Part of the website, you design your house,
Okay.
and give you an estimate based
Putting
on
in the
what
company is
you've
always a good idea.
Okay, what should we do?
Like a little gallery of and a gallery
All right, try to think of when you go to a website,
of the finished product.
what do you expect to see there?
Yeah. And then on
And then
the front,
going
you
to
draw.
need recent projects, things they've done before, so that our customers can look at how good they work. Probably. Well, we don't want it the main feature. We want just some basic stuff.
So you want to put it more like a corner.
Probably like in a corner. Mostly we. Do we want to add a banner?
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's have a banner across the top. Probably. Probably like like a low shot of a house, basically just like from part of the street up through the driveway into the house.
I was impressed with how much the students independently came up with ideas that I hadn't mentioned. And it made me happy because it's something that sometimes as a teacher you're not sure if the kids hear you or not. And that's actually something good about group work, is that, you know, if one out of the five remembered something that I said a couple months ago, then, you know, that kid mentioning it reminds the rest of the group what happened and what I had taught them a couple months ago. So that actually, you know, as a teacher, that makes me very happy to see that what I'm saying isn't always falling on deaf ears. It's sometimes it actually is kind of penetrating and making an impression on some of these kids.
Shots of houses they've done already.
Right. So that's the kind of thought process I want you to go through, okay?
Okay.
Just think about what people would want to see when they go there, right?
You contact them.
We don't design that, but I think we should provide
Price generator. So you create and make a model of your own house, and you generate the price based on what you created on the website.
That's awesome. So that would take a little bit of programming and a little bit of research, and they'd have to get everything together for that, but that's an awesome idea. I think that would be awesome. So let me take a look. You said Georgia down here. Is that the font?
That's the font.
Okay, all right. See, I didn't even mention that, but I'm glad you thought about it, because why did you pick Georgia?
We need like a building.
It's
It's a serif font, right? So you picked a serif font because it's more,
it's in more systems.
it's more systematic, more business-like?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. So I figured you picked that for a reason, and I think that's a good choice for a website like this. That's good. All right. I think you guys did well. All right. Okay. Angel, you here? Angel, honey? Could you do me a favor? That John left class? Or maybe you're not the best person to ask to do that. Do you know where he went? That's where he went? Okay. You have a seat. Thank you. All right. Well, I was circulating around and I saw some good stuff. So let's take a look at what some of you have done. We're going to go through the famous Wheel of Fortune we have here. All right. Dalton's actually, oops, that's bad luck. Let's do this again. All right, so we're going to go through that Wheel of Fortune, and we've got nobody. One on top is Tim Kritzmeyer, so Tim's group. Let's see what you guys got. Why don't you share with the class?
All right. So we have we had the logo as Bay Area Contract, where the Bay is like part of a house. Then we have home section, and we have the about recent projects, and then
So what's the home section? What's in there?
a bunch of reviews about their projects that they have done, and
Great.
about their company.
Okay.
Then underneath that, they have the price calculator, like it's built in, so you don't have to go anywhere, and that's like gives you an estimate of how much each project costs.
Perfect. Awesome. That sounds great. All right. Well, very good. How about someone else? Anyone else volunteer to say what you got? All right, Katie.
So, our group, for what we decided to do was for like the color scheme, it would be light blue, light green, yellow, and like a hint of white, basically, just to
okay.
show that they're welcoming. That
So
they're,
green and blue, actually, that's not a bad idea, okay? So green to remind people of what's green in a house, the yard, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea, okay.
And then we did like its own tab for recent homes that they're working on. And then we did some, like a slideshow of designs, basically saying what we've done, what we can do, like price ranges, like pictures of, how do I describe it?
Already built homes.
Pictures of homes they've already done, right?
Yeah. Like just to show like what you can do. If you want to do this, then here would be a certain contractor that you might want to get in touch with. They have recommendations for contractors along with the background information, contacts,
Okay.
just to
Okay.
show like they're
So-
doing this for you rather than to make money off of you.
Oh, okay, so you want them to trust you, right? And
Yeah.
be a kind of a one-stop shop that you can get everything you need to build your home. That's a great idea. Because contractors do use subcontractors. They always do, right? All right, let's go ahead and go on to the next one. Bookstore here called Brilliant Books. It's, they want to be known as your long-distance local bookstore. They're family-owned. They sell bestsellers just like all the other bookstores you can think of, but they also like to sell hand-picked, what they call indie books, and they want to, one of the reasons they want to start a website is they want to start selling books online. They want to offer free shipping. Okay, so let's think about a few things. First of all, you got long-distance local bookstore. So long distance, obviously, what does that refer to? Angel uses their shipping, right? They want to be long distance and they want to be local. Now, everything near you is local, right? But is every store you go to a local store? The answer is no, it's not. Okay, so if you go to Barnes & Noble, is that a local store? The answer is no, because they're a chain, right? Local bookstore means that it's kind of a mom and pop shop, okay? I've told you guys about this before, that I lived in Riverside for 8 years. Riverside and Avondale, people love that area of town because almost everything there is local. Everything there's a mom and pop shop, okay? They have, antique shops, bookstores, anything you can think of, restaurants, everything's local there with only one or two exceptions. So that's actually a reason people live there, is because they like local stores. They like to buy locally, okay? So that's, I think, very important distinction you need to make, right? Also, that's reinforced right here, right? It's not some faceless corporation. It's owned by a family, all right? It's a family-owned bookstore. So that would be a positive aspect, right? That you want to make sure that you stress, all right? So they sell bestsellers and... So what's an indie book? What's the difference between a bestseller and an indie book? Yeah, Alexis.
Bestseller is something that you'll see in an everyday bookstore, and indie books are more independently owned.
Okay, so indie stands for independent, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you got the right idea. So how many of you listen to indie music sometimes? Any of you? Sorta, kind of, okay. So what does indie music mean? It means it's from an independent artist, independent label, right? So instead of being like RCA or Sony, they're not with one of the big labels, right? And for a book, it means they're not with one of the big publishers, okay? So they're just small authors that have just written a book, okay, without a huge book deal. All right, so why would they want to stress that? Think about, why do people like to listen to indie music? What kind... I don't want to get too politically incorrect here, but what's the thing that people used to make fun of 5 or 10 years ago? The kind of people listen to indie music? Hipsters, right? Hipsters. Okay. So they want, but the thinking behind it is that they want to try something different, something off the beaten path. So you want to probably stress that they're not like everybody else, right? That they're a little bit different. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to think about. So go ahead and start, and give you about 5 or 10 minutes, all right?
So it would be like kind of like two pictures on and
Yeah.
but faded out.
One side of the bookstore and then the other.
Yeah. And then
Like
this
one
would,
shot of the
this
back.
would be like the bookshelf.
Yeah. And then another. You have any ideas?
Top right here, put like a sign up thing for an account.
Another. Well, yeah. Login and shopping cart.
We could put like on the side, we could put like academy.
You know what? I'm overhearing some people saying some things that we didn't mention a minute ago. Think about again, when you are going to buy a book, how do you search for a book? You do by genre. Okay, so like if you like mystery or you like fantasy or you like fiction or you like nonfiction, right? All right. So what else might you search by? Author, right? If you like a certain author. What would be a special case for this? What are the two big categories that it says right there? And it's
Independent and bestsellers.
bestsellers and indie. So maybe that would be something else that you'd want as different categories as well. So I overheard somebody talking about the different categories, and it slipped my mind to mention it. So I'm glad you reminded me. Good job.
In the Brilliant Books, I actually had a student. They were talking about how just the nature of selling independent books and not big bestsellers, they don't get much exposure. So the fact that they are an indie bookstore and that they offer these books, if you show on the page the most recent purchases, then I thought that was a great idea. I never thought of that. If they show the most recent purchases, then there's a great chance that this obscure book that wouldn't otherwise get a whole lot of exposure would get some exposure because somebody bought it in the past few hours. So I thought that was a great idea that I actually hadn't thought of.
Some of you guys had some really good stuff. You thought of some things that I didn't mention that you absolutely need to have for a website like this. So those of you who got it, that's awesome. Great job. All right, so let's go ahead and try this one more time and see if this works correctly. Use this 50 times in the, okay, Alexis. You guys, group 6. All right, what do you guys got?
Well, first we have our logo at the top, which is a shopping cart filled with books since they do shipping.
Their logo is pretty good, by the way. They put some effort into that logo. So, good job on that.
So our menu has, of course, the home button. Then they have a search by button and bestsellers, indie books, genres, and contact us.
Good.
And then on the right side, they have like shopping cart and checkout button. And here we have like a banner, which, you know how they have sliding banners and they show like best-selling books and whatnot. And
That's great. That's awesome. And I noticed you guys had a shopping cart, right?
Yeah.
I never mentioned a shopping cart, did I? But if you're going to be selling stuff online, you have to have shopping cart software on your website. Okay, so good job figuring that out. Now, how many of you have shopped online like at Amazon.com or something like that? Most of you have, right? Okay. So if you are shopping online, do you want to type in your name, your address, your credit card number every single time you go to that site? No, you probably wouldn't go there very often if that's all you could do, right? So how do they remember who you are? I'm going to call on Maria because it was your group that was the only one I saw that had this.
Yes, so what you do is you make a login. That way when you log in every time, give you recent stuff based on already what you bought.
Right.
And that way
So-
you can have all your
So you want to log in, right?
Yeah.
You want to have accounts for the customers.
Yep.
So you're going to have them be able to register
Yes.
and log in,
Yeah,
right?
that way you can have your credit card number already there. You can have your shipping details,
Exactly.
and have you can offer you recent stuff that you read based upon what you already bought.
So you're saying you should have suggestions based on what you bought. That makes a lot of sense as well. Okay. So you guys look like you really thought it through. Does anybody else have anything to add? Cody.
We kind of had, we didn't just go with the bestseller thing scrolling across. We had more of what people most recently bought because we were thinking indie. People don't look for indie books unless they really want them. So we want people to see them and realize that they're there. So we just had a most recent. So if somebody did buy an indie book, it would be on the front page instead of just having all the ones that have already been sold a bunch of times.
The most recent's actually a very good idea when you're talking about indie. I never would have thought of that. Good job, guys. That's awesome. I honestly never thought of that aspect of it. So I know you guys talked about most popular. Okay, so that's another way you could probably introduce the indie books, because people that want that kind of book probably go there, right? And so that might be one of their best sellers, might be an indie book, or just the most recent, okay? So anybody else have anything to add, or is that it for now? Well, great job today. What I'm going to ask you guys to do, okay, is I want you to clean up, go back to your computers, go back to your stations. I want you to log into Gaggle, and there is an assignment on there for you to kind of reflect on what you learned. Okay.
You know, if they give a well thought out reflection, then I would give them credit for their reflection. If I kind of look at it and I see what the students learned, and if there's something that it seems like a lot of them missed, then it gives me a good idea of what I might need to cover in more detail the next day.
As you answer these questions, I want you to think through what we just talked about, okay? We good? All right, so go ahead and bring your papers with you to your seats. And again, go to Gaggle, to your assignment Dropbox.